Hey guys, today I'm going to be installing a RX Cleanside Separator kit. Basically what this does is it prevents oil blow-by from these vents on the intake from going in and being sucked back into the main intake. So the two vents on the valve covers will be linked together with a hose, and then the clean side will vent to the intake, and the valve on the new piece will prevent oil blow-by from being sucked into the intake. I was having an issue with too much oil accumulating in my intake tube. In the last video I did, I was just changing my airbox filter and I found a lot of oil accumulated in here. So this will prevent that. Also, in conjunction with a dirty side PCV catch can, you'll be ensuring that you keep your intake as clean as possible from any blow-by oil. I do have a video on an RX catch can as well. Go ahead and click the link up in the right-hand corner and I'll show you that video. This is the Cleanside Separator. This will go in place of your OEM oil filler cap on the valve cover, and then there is a little barb on there that you'll attach a hose that'll go to your intake tube. So there's a valve inside of here that keeps oil from going up, and it just only allows clean air. I have a assorted couple size of hoses here. You're gonna need some sort of adapters because the OEM vent tubes are 5/8. This is like a 3/8 smaller. So you're gonna need some sort of adapters. Mine will be relatively easy because I have an aftermarket intake tube that has a screw type fittings. So I'll just be changing the barb on my intake tube to match what is on here. And then this is for linking the two valve covers together. It's 5/8 inner diameter hosing. I'm gonna go ahead and start putting some things on here, and I'll show you what I'm talking about as I go along. So what I've done is I've removed my intake tube just to make things a little bit easier to see. I've removed all the hoses attached to the valve covers and whatnot. And what I'm working on now is I'm deciding on whether I want to utilize these quick connects that I got with my intake tube, or if I just want to install my hoses like that right on top and then have the hose go like that. And that's what I'm talking about now. I'm probably gonna leave it just like that. This tube links the two valve covers together. It is important that you link these two valve covers together. So make sure you put a clamp. It does get on there pretty good. This is just a 5/8 inner diameter hose. It gets on there pretty good, but I would use a clamp on both sides just to make sure when you're driving down the road, nothing gets rattled off. This is the Cleanside Separator I've showed you. It is gonna go in place of your oil cap, like so. And it does rotate a little bit so you can adjust how the hoses are. And then this barb is just going to connect to the one side of your intake tube. Now, if you have an OEM intake tube, that's fine. If you have an aftermarket intake tube, that's fine. It'll work with both. You just have to make sure you get the right fitting. The OEM intake tube it's gonna be like right here. It's a vent that normally gets down to here. It's a 5/8 inner diameter hose, so this is smaller. You're gonna need to use some sort of adapter to get down. On my intake tube, I'm gonna be using just a new fitting that has the same size hose that's on here. And then this other hole, I'm just gonna block off because it is not used anymore. There will just be one hose going from the Cleanside Separator to my intake. My intake will be installed like so, and that's the name of the game, and you're done. So this is the barb that will be connected to the Cleanside Separator with the hose on my intake tube, and this is the closed off other hole on my intake tube. It's just gonna sit in there like that, and I'm gonna hook it up and show you how it looks. So now I have everything hooked up. My intake tube is installed, and all the hoses are clamped and installed as well. First things first, the two valve covers are linked together with that hose right there, from there to there, one single hose. My vent on my intake tube that went to that valve cover is now blocked off. There's another one on the underside right there that has a new hose running here to the Cleanside Separator right there, which goes to where you put your oil fill cap. Another thing about this is you don't have to remove it every time, or you don't have to remove, this is part of the Cleanside Separator. It just has grommets so that, you know, you want to fill your oil, you just do that and it plugs right in. And one other thing I'd like to show is how you clean this. And I've said there's a valve in here. I'm sorry, that's not right. There's not a valve. There's actually just a media that catches the oil and allows it to drip down. So similar to like a catch can, you can take it apart and clean it every so often. I'd say clean it every time you empty your catch can. I empty mine every 1,000 miles. This is a nice threaded piece with a rubber grommet on it there, and then these are the grommets that slide it into. So that's how you take it apart and clean it. I wanted to make sure I showed that too. And that's it. That's the Cleanside Separator. Now I also have the catch can here, which I have a video on that, and I'll link that in the description. But These two modifications on direct injection motors help to keep your intake clean so that you have a cleaner burning spark in the cylinder and less gunk buildup on the back sides of the valves, and help with performance and gas mileage and engine longevity. These are good modifications to do, and for relatively cheap, I would suggest doing them. Post up in the below if you have any comments or questions, and if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks for watching.